My name is Savannah Campbell and I'm going to be doing my presentation on shooting archery. Since I was old enough to hold a bow and know how it worked, I had a love for shooting archery. For me, archery isn't just a hobby, it became a sport that I love so very much. I became a part of West Point's very first archery team in 4th grade and got quite good at the sport. Though I was good at the sport, it didn't come easy and there were many times where I wanted to quit, but practicing good attitude got me very far. Archery isn't just shooting a bow. There is more a good archer should know. Archery is a well-rounded, time-consuming sport that requires patience, endurance, willpower, the attitude to want to win, coordination, and a steady aim. Shooting archery, you learn a good bit of these traits, but there are also other things too, such as the 11-step shooting process needed to become a great archer. These steps are: number 1, stance. It is important to have a great stance with feet shoulder length apart and 1 foot on each side of the straight line, standing tall and relaxed. Step 2, nock. Placing the arrow on the arrow rest, making sure the odd-colored arrow is pointing away from the bow, and snapping the arrow right below the nock indicator, allowing the arrow to fly with no interruptions. Step 3, to set your draw hand. Take the first 3 fingers and hook the bowstring in the groove of the fingers and keep the back of the drawstring or the draw hand string relaxed. Step 4, you're going to set your bow hand. Setting your bow hand should be to your comfort, using the hand you're holding the bow with, and should be relaxed through the whole shot. You should never squeeze your bow while shooting. Step 5 is your pre-draw. You should always line your bow and arrow up with the target, knowing where you want to draw to before the draw happens. Step 6 is to draw. When drawing a bow, you will want to keep the arm that is holding the bow completely straight toward the target while drawing the string to your ear and continually looking at the aiming point. Step 7 will be to anchor. For most people, this is the hardest part, but after you have drawn to your ear, you're going to bring the knuckle of your index finger to the corner of your mouth, still holding your draw position. Step 8, you're going to aim. While holding your draw position with your knuckle in the corner of your mouth, you're going to line the arrow up with where you want to shoot on the target. Step 9 will be your shot setup. In this step, you will create tension in your upper back as you are holding the draw, becoming ready to release at any time. Step 10 is to release your hand. With your hand anchored and ready to release, you can release at any time while still looking where the arrow goes on the target. Step 11 is the final step, where you follow through your shot. While your hand is still by your ear, after releasing the shot, continue to keep your bow arm straight to make sure that the arrow is shot straight, and continue to watch the arrow as it hits the target. This should be done every time for great repetition. There are other things that are required to know if you're shooting archery, especially at competing levels. These things are knowing how to walk down the line to score your arrows. You will always want to remain in the lane you shot in, just to cause no confusion between your partner and the line judge. You should always be polite and clear when scoring your arrows, since you won't be scoring your own. You should always be sure your partner scores your arrows right. Getting your arrows out of the target should be done a certain way. You should always have one hand around the arrow to pull and place the other hand on the target for support, and to make sure your arrow comes out straight and not bent. While walking back to your quiver to leave your arrows, you should walk with the tips of your arrows covered by one hand and held close to the fletchings with the other to make sure no one gets hurt. After each round is shot and scored, you should always make sure to sign your scorecard, because if it's not signed, then you don't have a final score at all. Usually, they will allow you to take your target home with you, but in the sense that your partner may want it, I've always said whoever shot better can have the target. Learning to shoot archery consisted of lessons to do better in the sport, and were lessons I could take with me and use in my everyday life, and even though I grew apart, the lessons helped me accomplish many things, but most of all allowed me to become the top shooter of my team, to get to travel to many wonderful states, and to come close to achieving my goal of winning the National Archery Tournament in 2017 with a score of 298 out of 300. I couldn't have done any of it without the support of my team and long practice hours it took to get me where I am today.